into this evening's council meeting. I'm calling to order this evening, July 17th voting session. Let us call to order. It is 7 p.m. So could we roll call? Would you help us with that, Ms.
Yes.
Jacko?
Councilmember Chmielewski.
Present.
Councilmember Serna.
Here.
Councilmember Barton.
Here.
Councilmember Elam.
Here.
Councilmember Fry.
Here.
Vice President Kingsley.
Here.
President Sokolowski.
Here.
Mayor Aronson.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, welcome to everyone. It's so nice to see everyone here this evening. Before we get started, if everyone would mind standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So this evening, if we look at the agenda, we're going to just flip around. We're not going to start with public comment. Let's start with our presentations, as that's more of a cheerful start of our meeting. So first presentation we're having this evening is the swearing in of patrol officers and sergeant. So I will like to turn the mic over to Mayor Aronson and the Chief Lennon for the honors.
Thank you. Thank you. Tonight, our borough family is very proud to be swearing in two new officers, promotion of one officer, and recognition of a new position that we've created in the police department. If we could have both of our new officers, Patrick Fusco and Eric Perna, come join me up front here. Pat's first and Eric is second. If you just want to stand up here. Our first new officer, Eric Perna. Eric came to us from Drexel University Police Department. Eric is from Yeadon, Delaware County. He graduated Penwood High School and attended Delaware County Community College and California University of Pennsylvania. Eric also served in the Marine Corps Reserves. Our second new officer is Patrick Fusco. Patrick came to us from Philadelphia Police Department, where he worked for almost 5 years. Pat is from Philadelphia and recently moved to Hatfield. Pat graduated from Roman Catholic High School and attended the Community College of Philadelphia and Gwen and Mercy University. Pat's married and has 2 children. We'll start with Eric, and then do you have anybody that you want to come up?
Oh, yes, my brother.
Okay.
I state your name.
I, Eric Perna,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office
with fidelity.
with fidelity. Thank you, sir.
I state your name, please.
I, Patrick Fusco,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and I will discharge the duties
of my office.
with fidelity.
All right. Next, we have a promotion. Officer Eric Hall will be promoted to the rank of sergeant. Officer Hall began his career with the East Lansdowne Police Department at Chester County Sheriff's Office before joining us here in the Borough of Conshohocken in 2011. In addition to his patrol duties, Eric serves the department as a field training officer, firearms instructor, is a member of the bike unit and the drone unit. Eric also serves on the Montgomery County Central Region SWAT team, and he's been on the SWAT team for the last 10 years, acting as an entry team member and explosives breacher. He was recognized in 2017 for being the SWAT Officer of the Year. Eric is married to his incredibly supportive wife, Elise. and he is a dog dad to Bluebell and Moves.
Have my wife and my brother come up.
You raise your right hands. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Eric Hall,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support, obey, and defend
that I will support, obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and that I will discharge the duties
and that I will discharge the duties
of my office
of my office with fidelity. Thank you, sir.
And finally, we're going to recognize a new position we have in the police department. We've created a detective sergeant's position, which we've never had before. That detective sergeant will be Sergeant Shane Murray. His position will be to oversee the detective division. Sergeant Murray started with the police department in 1998. He moved into the detective division in 2008. He spent 8 years in detectives before being promoted to sergeant, where he spent the last 8 years as a patrol sergeant. Detective Sergeant Murray is the department coordinator for the county's violent task force and drug task force. He oversees the department and oversees the department's participation in the Valley Forge DUI task force. Sergeant Murray. And if we could have everybody come up and we'll take some pictures real quick and do that.
Any family members want to take pictures? I got two. There you go. All right. Three.
We got Eric's family up here real quick.
Okay with mom?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm short.
What are you doing?
I was going to say, some people might want to get on the other side. There you go.
Yeah.
Good options. Oh, your brothers are coming up.
Don't apologize, enjoy it. Earned it.
Exactly.
One,
2, 3. One, two, three.
That's a good smile.
It's okay, you can't hurt them.
With the glasses, one small step to your left, you're hidden. There you go.
Everybody say Eric.
Is that everybody?
Do I smell like gas? Oh, yeah, I don't know what it is.
Okay, on behalf of the Borough of Conshohocken, the council, and the residents, we just want to extend our congratulations to those officers who have promoted from within the ranks, and a warm welcome to those officers who are joining our ranks. So welcome and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Okay. I think that's all our presentations for today. So at that, I will give it 1 second here.
I always like how they don't know.
If they should stay or no.
Yeah.
Daniels, came in, he walked up and saw it was packed and got worried that it was all gone.
Really?
Oh yeah, good. They new chef. Like in the past. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome to Conshohocken.
Thank you.
All right, back to our business meeting. At this point, I will ask for, do we have any public comment related to our agenda items this evening? Sure, come on up to the
real
podium and
quickly.
tell us who you are.
My name is Mark Wyman. I'm Ray Wyman Sr.'s son. First of all, it's great to see the community getting stronger and the safety getting even greater for Conshohocken. That's just great to see. I just want to come in and say thank you once again for the support of the park. And I'm here to also remind you that I'm here to help also. I talked to Steph a little bit. It's like maybe this is not the right signage, but I'm here to help bridge any gap that might financially be needed to make sure we have something that honors my father, who helped develop Conshohocken since 1980 with Jack Meehan and the troops. So I just want to let you know that I'm here for that. And I'll see you next time on the next agenda. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Anyone else for public comment? Council, did you receive any feedback or anything from your residents that you need to bring forward? Regarding the agenda items? Okay, we'll do that when we get there? Okay. Okay. All right, so let's see. Next item on the agenda will be under land use matters, public hearings and ordinances. So this evening, we're going to consider adopting ordinance 04-2014 that would amend the borough's food vendor ordinance regulations. I'll ask Mike Peters to review the specifics of the ordinance, the amendment, advertising, and all that good stuff, please.
Thank you very much. This ordinance has been advertised. It is ready for your vote this evening. Just to remind you as to what the ordinance does, it clarifies and confirms the borough's policies and requirements for food trucks. And in terms of requirements, that includes a valid license from the county health department. There are inspection requirements, insurance requirements, and those insurance requirements are set by resolution, which we'll address after you adopt this ordinance if you so choose. It provides that food trucks are allowed in the SP1, SP2, and SP3 districts only. The only change from your prior ordinance would be that ordinance was not specific and could have covered SP4, which is the Syncora development. There are exceptions to those limitations, and those are for borough-sponsored events or special events that this borough council votes by a majority vote to allow food trucks. And also, if you approve a land development application within the SP1, SP2, or SP3 districts, the ordinance would allow you to waive the hour limitations with respect to that land development. That is the ordinance that's before you, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Frey?
Yeah, the only feedback that I got when it was clarified, but the private use of trucks, there was some concern that it was completely eliminated.
It is completely eliminated except for SP1, SP2, and SP3, unless this council votes that it can be permitted at a special event.
Correct. And there was also a question regarding the ice cream truck that moves around, and that's still.
This ordinance is not intended to cover that ice cream truck, and I don't think this council would ever want to outlaw.
My kids had a very major concern. All right, so I just needed to throw it out there. We wanted to make 100% sure.
So, Ralph, this is what you should traditionally think of as a food truck that parks along the side of the street and is there, and that's why it's limited to SP1, SP2, and SP3. Because the remainder of the borough streets, except for during special events, need to remain open and aren't really safe for the presence of food trucks.
Okay.
And then, Mr. Peters, you talked about the waiving of hours in SP1, 2, and 3 on land development. Does that grandfather in existing development projects?
It would not. So you would, if you chose to do, if you chose to allow it for other projects down along the riverfront, for example, I think Matson Mill, we had contemplated there being food trucks. We would just have to address it through a resolution of council. So you could amend the land development approval resolution to allow for it, but it is not an automatic change.
But if there was an event that somebody brought to us, we could vote on it and allow it to happen for the event.
Exactly right. So if Matson Mill wanted to hold a special event with food trucks, you could, by majority vote, allow that.
And borough-sponsored events are still allowed under this?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. We put that specifically in the ordinance, so there were no doubts.
Any other questions from council? Mr. Mayor, any questions? Okay, hearing no other questions or concerns, what I am looking for is a motion to adopt ordinance 04-2024, amending the borough's food vendor ordinance regulations.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda, and we will be looking at 2 items on the consent agenda: to approve and adopt the June 5th and June 18th regular meeting minutes, and then to approve the June ending treasurer's report and accounts payable report. So we'll start with the first one, approving and adopting the June 5th and June 18th regular meeting minutes. If I hear no issues or concerns, could I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. The next motion would be to approve the June ending treasurer's report and accounts payable in the amount of $1.627,171.90. $1,627,171.90. I do want to make note to a correction on the Julie Davis June statement treasurer's report. There is a statement that the borough's governmental cash position increased from $39.1 million in May, on May 31st to $38.2 million. The actual statement should be the cash position decreased by $900,000, please.
We will make sure that is corrected and is on the record.
Okay. With that correction, I would be looking for a motion for the accounts payable and treasurer's report in the amount of $1,627,171.90.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Under unfinished business, we are looking at considering an award to a bid for construction of a storage facility at the community center. I think in the June meeting, we had Ms. Azari come up and explain what that storage facility was, and that we put it out for RFP and bids, and now we're looking for an appointment of Deloitte Construction LLC.
Yes, so the RFP was advertised on June 6th. The bids were due, the responses on July 8th. They were received, they were administratively reviewed for the technical specifications of the RFP. Deloitte does meet those technical compliance and specifications of the RFP, and that bid is within the budget of $96,000. They actually came in at a figure of $90,000. So for tonight, in order to get the community center the much needed storage that they need to continue to grow the programming, they are running out of space. This is a necessity. It is a approved capital budget item, and it is in front of you this evening for consideration for approval.
Any additional questions on the storage unit for the community center?
Steph, can you just remind us and our residents where at the Fellowship House it'll be built?
Where it will actually be located.
Yeah.
So it'll be behind, so if you are, and I'll be facing the Marywood Park portion, the rear, like towards the side of the building. So if you're at the playground and you're looking up, you'll see it towards the concrete block. It'll just look like an extension of the current facility, and the specifications of the RFP indicate that it should look like it is part of the current facility. And it will allow the storage that is now happening in areas where we actually need to utilize that space because we have so many people participating in programming to be stored in a storage facility as opposed to usable space.
Just a quick question. With the bid being $40,000 lower than the closest one, roughly, was there any discussion regarding if there was an expectation of any change orders because it's so tight on the budget within $96,000? You're talking about a 7% shift in
Right.
order, and it goes over budget. Was that discussed with Deloitte at all, or did they anticipate that, or is this fairly straightforward in their estimation in the discussions?
Our
with-
understanding, especially as it's been reviewed by our facility operators, is that it is a pretty straightforward project. The only unknown factor, which is actually not included in the RFP, is the sprinkling of the actual facility, because that'll get tied in with the current sprinkler system that's in the community center. So that is a separate portion of this project that is not in this bid. And therefore, yes, could there be a potential unknown when it comes to that? Potentially, but that's in the budget as a separate line item. It's not part of this budget because we need to have that continuity between vendors.
Okay. Do we have any idea what that could possibly be, or no? We don't know.
We don't know yet. We'll be working with our vendor that currently works with the community center. We have
Okay.
a contract.
Okay.
And this was budgeted for last year into this year's budget, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from council? Okay, hearing no questions, I'm looking for a motion to award the bid to Deloitte Construction LLC in the amount of $90,000 for the construction of the storage facility at the community center. per the specifications of the request for proposal.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-11, which authorizes the submission of the home program grant application.
Yes, so Ms. Stetler was in front of Borough Council and the public for 2 public hearings on the home program application. We are looking to apply for another round of grant dollars in the amount of $250,000, and that goes directly into the affordable housing, low-income program that we offer as a service to the community. And in order for us to actually submit the application, we need council to approve a resolution for authority to do so. And that is the resolution that's in front of you this evening.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, could I have a motion to approve Resolution 2024-11 that would authorize the submission of the home program grant application?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is a discussion and approval of the Borough Welcome Sign design located at the Raymond Ludwig Weinman Senior Memorial Pocket Park. At this point, I will turn this over to our Executive Director of Operations, Mr. Sokolowski. Please come to the podium.
Doesn't need to come up. We're going to call this a group effort.
Okay.
Between Ray, Shauna, and I. You want me to kick it off?
Sure.
Okay. So we are in your 2024 budget. We have dollars allocated specifically for the Raymond Ludwig Weinman Senior Memorial Pocket Park.
It's a mouthful.
Part of that project is a welcome sign that will be positioned on the bridge and will have capabilities to be seen from both directions of traffic. We have worked directly with our sign vendor to come up with a design that would be innovative to allow for it to be seen on both directions of traffic. It is a somewhat difficult terrain at that particular part of the park. However, we, as your administration, do feel that having that Welcome to Conshohocken sign located at that point in this brand new pocket park is kind of a really unique opportunity that we should take advantage of. And therefore, we have worked through, Shauna and Ray have spearheaded this and have gone through so many different sign designs and options and looked all up and down the East Coast at different options that exist in other municipalities. And we are confident that what we're presenting to you this evening is the right choice for this park and this location. There is going to be some infrastructure work that needs to happen in order to actually install the signage at this location on that. There is a pretty significant slope and some infrastructure underneath the ground that's going to have to be addressed. Our lovely engineer, Karen, is loving us with this project and everything that we also have on her plate, so thank you very much. But that is all in the works. So Karen and her team, Ray and his team, they are diligently working on a final design scope for the pocket park itself. That portion of the project is ongoing. The signage portion is up for discussion this evening. We would like to get the signage portion, this portion, the design and the actual construction of the sign and potentially the installation of the sign completed in 2024. Because a lot of the design and the engineering work is going on with the park right now, there will be some work that is done for the actual construction of the pocket park in 2024, but you'll see there will be a carryover line item for the finalization of that construction in 2025. And we also, if you look at the sign itself, it is, again, it is meant to be a welcome sign and also a thanks for visiting sign. We went through many different designs for the actual inner circle. What did we have? We had riverfront, we had bridge, we had, we went through numerous, I think there was like 6 at one point. And I don't know, some of us were here when we went through the design of the borough seal. And that was a very laborious and intensive process, and we're proud of that seal, and I think it really signifies kind of where we've come from and where we're going, and so we landed on the seal. And we hope you feel the same way, but we are open and welcome any comments or discussion points on the sign. It does not have to be final, and tonight we just would like your feedback. So thoughts, discussion, questions?
I like it.
Anyone have any feedback? I'm underwhelmed by it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not that big. Like, it's a very busy intersection. I know we're tight on space, and I'm assuming we have to have something that can fit on one post because of the landscape, but it just...
Correct.
It
So
kind
we
of
did look
sets
at
the sign up.
larger, like 2 posts where it would be, you wouldn't have kind of that triangular configuration. It just does not work at that terrain.
Were you looking at back to back?
We looked at it back to back. We looked at it sort of in the kind of the design that it is now. It's difficult with what we have to work there, especially there's some sort of railroad lines that go through there, and there's also utilities that run through there. So we don't want you to be underwhelmed. That's definitely not the feedback that we want. So if you are underwhelmed, then what do you think you would like to see?
I don't know. I think when you look at the picture and with all the busyness with the yellow thing down and the pole, and it just kind of blends in as just another something there. It doesn't really give me welcome to Conshohocken. That's kind of how I'm feeling.
I 100% agree. I think it's underwhelmed is a good way to put it, I guess. It would also be, it seems very small relative to what you want to feel when you're going into a town. It just doesn't feel, it doesn't give me a great
So
feeling.
we
And
did
honestly,
look at,
I may not even kind of notice it to an extent, because there is a lot going on over there.
so we did look at, if you look at the entrance signs to some municipalities, like we have in our own, there's digital signage and signage that kind of has masonry that makes it more elaborate. We don't have that option there.
Do we have another spot that we can put it so that it isn't around, or is there just so much there that...
Well, you have the same slope, the entirety of
Right.
that.
Right.
So if you don't want it there, then you're not at the entrance to your borough.
Was there any discussion of putting, I mean, I actually like the sign and the location, but anything down lower that would say that it is actually the Raymond Ludwig Wyman
Oh,
Park?
yes. Oh, the
Okay.
whole park, yes.
Right, I mean-
The park itself,
Right,
off the slope,
right.
will have, the design looks really great. We're going to roll that out for you during your budget. That'll be rolled out as well. But yes, there will be signage. That's why Mark was here. We
Right.
thought that's the signage we were talking about, and that's not the signage we're talking about this evening.
This is just,
I mean, between the barrier that kind of runs in front of it, to me, it blends in. I like the seal, I like the design, it's just, it blends in so much there, it's not giving that grand entrance to Conshohocken that...
Do a many on banner. Oh my God.
That is
The location of the sign is not, that's not an accurate.
No, it'll be,
It's gonna go down the slope more towards where the Wyman Park is, on a pole that will be actually elevated above slightly above the bridge. So that's too close to the power lines that are above it. It would kind of blend into the power lines that you see there. So it would go further towards the Wyman Park. And then the symmetry, as far as making it wider, or that's something that they are able to adjust. So if some of the signs, if you prefer to be longer.
Yeah, like, do you want it more rectangular
Like
and
it's
what's
five by
that?
five,
It's only
right.
it's only 5 by 5. Like,
Right, it's 5 by 5,
It's like
the right
it's like me
size.
standing there holding a sign. I wouldn't want to like it doesn't. It wouldn't be great. So
We'll just put you there.
yeah, well, I can. I mean, I don't have much time right now, but maybe.
So
towards
what
the
do you,
fall.
so when you're saying that, what comes to mind? Like, if you don't like that shape and that size, do you want it to be, we have all options, correct?
You do.
So what do you want?
I would start with making it.
I don't mind the shape, I don't
Yeah, I like
mind
the
what's
shape
on it.
too.
I don't think 5 by 5, and I guess the question is from a engineering perspective, when you're sitting in a car, X feet away, what's the size of a sign that is
I think
really?
5 feet is bigger than you think it is.
Well, that's what I was trying to do me. I'm like trying to do
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, comparative to that sidewalk, that's almost, what do you think the width of that sidewalk is, to give it some relative size?
That sidewalk is about, that's probably 4 foot to the, 4 feet to the
To the wall.
barrier.
Yeah.
So you're talking about it's actually wider than, or as wide as the sidewalk, relatively speaking, where I don't think this drawing shows it as in relative size. So my statement is, I definitely like the design. I really like the layout and how you use the seal. I think size is an issue there. I think, to me, when I look at that, it looks like the sign, without reading the dimensions, like that sign is about 3 feet wide.
Right,
And
just
that's-
looking at the picture.
Yeah.
I think that the design. You're right. The design looks like the actual physical. The stuff that's on it is great. I know this sounds weird, but being able to actually visualize it in actual size with something that is that actual size as opposed to a rendering may paint it differently.
You're gonna think I'm nuts, but is there any way to go put 2 by 4 in the ground with a 5 by 5 piece of wood here so I can go see it?
I know that's
all I know. Is my husband, is he making a face?
Well, it's not me this time.
One Tina by one Tina.
I was literally thinking the same thing, and I know that's that, but visually,
Visual is good.
visually it looks it doesn't look like you would imagine it, and if you actually put something that's 5 by 5 there, maybe you really kind of are like, oh, that makes sense spatially.
I think we're talking about the scale. I think the
Yes.
scale of it is the issue, and I'll reiterate, looking at that photo without looking at the dimensions, I go, that's too small, it's going to get lost with the poles and everything else, but I think it's 25 square feet, and I think it's bigger than we think it is.
Mr. Spatial Resolution.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's all day, every day. That's all I do.
How big is the borough seal up there?
We do have one other issue that we do want to put something similar on the other end of town, and that space will be, it would have to be much smaller. So on scale wise, like we couldn't be too, we couldn't have it
Oversized.
too loud, but or it'll kind of get washed out.
Right, right.
Can't do anything on the other end. We have nowhere to put it.
How big is the borough seal up there? 3 by 3? On the wall?
That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably almost 4.
Can the sign be moved closer, like on the other side of that black pole, or is that not engineering?
That's what I was thinking.
Possible. Here's the other thing. It says thanks for visiting, but cars that are on that side aren't gonna see it. Is there a way to put the signage on both sides of the bridge? One going in and one coming out?
Thank you for visiting.
Because they're not gonna see it going
The
out.
other side of the bridge is private property. We don't own, that's.
Can we-
Brady line.
Can we put it on the bridge? Like the signage
That's
is for the
Yeah.
sidewalks?
Yeah.
We can go back and talk to them about doing a 3-dimensional sign where you have, where it's almost a triangular shape where you can see it from all angles. And one of the things that we talked about was moving it away from the bridge and putting it on a longer pole. And you would have almost a triangular looking sign. I think there's one similar at Citizens Bank Park where you can see it from all the angles. That could be, so basically what you see in the lower left-hand corner, you would have a third one on the other side. It would just be the generic with thanks, either thanks for visiting or welcome to, whichever way we turned it.
What?
But there's a lot of different options. I think the one thing that it's easier to settle with the sign company is that the look and the wording that you want. At that point, a lot of things can be manipulated. It can be more rectangular shape, and where the seal is and the welcome to can be in the shape of an arch. You can do a lot of different things to it
I think,
once you get the wording correct.
so the wording in the seal, everybody's agreeing that they like.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you liking the
I,
design, or do you like the straight lines?
Councilperson Ellen brought up a good point that because of where it would be, it almost seems like for it to say thanks for visiting on that side. So just having either a larger sign that says welcome to Conshohocken, or I'm not too keen on now the thanks for visiting whenever it's not something that they would necessarily pass on the way out of town.
One other thing that, as you move forward in it, if that's that low, it's probably an interesting thing for people to vandalize if it's that low to the ground. I don't know if that's accessible there, but from a nuisance perspective, I don't know. Not a nuisance, but
I think you should take
Line
that
of sight.
location where it is, right in that picture, out of the
Okay.
conversation.
Okay. Okay.
If it's anywhere, it'll be on a flat portion of what is Wyman Park now,
Okay.
or it'll be on the slope portion. So either way, if it's on the flat portion, it'll be very high in the air,
Okay.
probably a story or two at least. And if it's on the slope part, it'll be on a slope that's probably, the grade is
And we
too
can
high
have-
for somebody to stand
We
in.
can have them, like, when we take this feedback and go back, we can ask them to reposition in terms of the picture, and so that they have
Yes,
more of an accurate.
yes. There's all sorts of logistical, there's all sorts of difficulties in doing that. Wyman Park, we found old train tracks and an old road and everything else in there. But we can find a location to match the sign we want to put in.
Okay.
I guess I'll float this idea out there. How important is it for people on council to have the state on it? Because it does look busy to me. So potentially removing that, giving more space to the borough name. I think our unique name is part of our
Brand.
yeah, the brand of Conshohocken. So that is a big focal point. I like having the name as a focal point.
You probably know you're in Pennsylvania.
I would hope you are.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Right across the street, so you never know.
I do agree with Councilmember Ellen that thanks for visiting on the side that you're coming in probably doesn't make a ton of sense.
going out.
Okay, so the feedback I have right now.
Oh, sorry, we're going. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Stace, did you need the?
I'm good.
Okay, I have, potentially larger size, which we can provide you with some sort of realistic scope of what that size means, right? The positioning, the actual location, those different options look, more of a realistic understanding of where that would be positioned so you can envision it. Removing Pennsylvania off the signage, leaving the seal, you're good with that? Removing thanks for visiting, or playing with that some way that would make more sense in terms of when you're driving. Anything else?
I would also recommend removing the established 1850 since we have it on our seal. So if we keep the seal, we don't need established.
Smooth move.
Do we gotta tell them twice?
Coloring?
Oh, I love it.
There are colors.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I like the colors. Yeah, I think the colors are,
How about font?
Good.
I like the, yeah.
No Comic Sans in this.
Shauna, anything else they're gonna ask for clarification on?
I think that is enough. Do you want to see options with and without those pieces of writing? If we do make the volume wider and more rectangular, maybe Pennsylvania and established in 1850 won't be as prevalent, as Conshohocken itself will be larger. So do you want to see options where they stay, or are we totally?
Certainly get rid of it.
I'd like to see options where they stay, just to kind of see what we're, just
Just to see.
just to kind of see what they're going to look like.
I do think from the vehicle, it would be very hard to read the seal, so the 1850 is a nice touch for drivers, but I think safety may make it easier to make that decision.
Okay, and, shape. Will you comment, or do you like that sort of?
I like the curve. I mean, I like it. I think it looks good. And I do actually agree with that, by the way, the 1850. Now that you mention it, that's gonna be super small on there. So,
All right, anything else we need in order feedback, in order to go back to them and get this redesign back in front of council?
That's probably enough for me to give him a direction to go in for a couple more options, and I'll ensure that they provide more than one, so.
Okay.
Sort of have some choices.
Can we just, if there's anyone in the public, is it okay to do that now?
Yeah, I think so. Do we have any public feedback on our sign or welcome to Conshohocken? Sure.
I do like it. I like the shape of it and the color. I just am concerned about, because it's so busy at the intersection, and there's like a pole, there's another sign with the yellow and black, like, will that cause any, and right there is the barrier, like, will that cause any, like, someone to?
Line of sight issues.
I think the feedback we got tonight was that, or the response was that the actual positioning and location of it, to kind of ignore that here, because it would be moved, or it might be in a different place within the park.
Then I agree with Councilwoman President Tina that we need to have something up there so it's visual, because I'm visual. So if I'm looking at this, I'm going to speak on that. So, okay, so we can have a mock-up.
Oh, I'd like to, lighting, no lighting? I think the drawings don't show any
There
lighting.
is an option for LED lighting in the book for the sign.
To shine on it?
Yes, shine
Okay.
on the sign. The sign itself won't be backlit, it'll be lit from.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else we haven't touched on? So that we have the directions so we can get this back in front of you.
No, but just for the record, could we get
Oh, yes.
Ms. Johnson's name on?
Erica Johnson.
Thank you, Erica.
Shauna or Ray, anything else? No? Okay. All right, well, thank you for the feedback. And we'll take it back to our sign consultant and bring back something for you to look at.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so sending our team back for more work on that, so I won't have a motion on that this evening.
No, we'll hold off on that.
All right. Next item on our agenda this evening is to consider authorizing execution of the assignment and assumption agreement between the Redevelopment Authority and the Greater Conshohocken Economic Development Corporation. I will turn this over to Ms. Checo just to give us kind of a lay of the land so we all are aware of what this actually is related to.
Yes, so the GCEDC is the Greater Conshohocken Economic Development Corporation, and the borough has representation on this development corporation through council with Vice President Kingsley and Councilmember Shimleski. The GCEDC currently has a revolving loan fund that the assets of that fund sit with the Montgomery County Redevelopment Authority. the redevelopment authority is looking to transfer the assets and liabilities of that entire loan fund from being housed at the redevelopment authority to the Greater Conshohocken Economic Development Corporation. So the GCEDC has retained an attorney. They are reviewing their bylaws. They have gone through a due diligence period in terms of currently working through what the operational context will be once they've assumed the loans, the current outstanding loans, and also the funds that are in this revolving loan fund. So that process is happening currently as we are reviewing this assignment and assumption agreement. But this agreement in particular allows for the actual transfer of those assets and the loans, the current outstanding loans themselves, into the possession of the GCEDC. And that would then place all of the funds that are earmarked specifically for Greater Conshohocken entities, where any new business, current business, anyone looking to come into Conshohocken or expand their current business can go to the GCEDC and request a loan. There's an application process. Instead of having to go through both the GCEDC and then have to go through a very lengthy and extensive process with the county, which is an entirely separate process, anyone coming in will have to go through one process now. They will come into Conshohocken, the GCEDC in particular. They will review the application and the loan request. If approved, then they'll go through the application process for the loan itself. It'll get underwritten, and then the finances will be handled by an actual financial institution that is appointed by the GCEDC. And so that process is all taking place right now. There's a lot of work happening in order to make this move efficiently and get to the place it needs to get to. And this evening, in order to actually start the whole assignment and assumption process, this agreement needs to be signed. It has been reviewed by both the GCEDC lawyer as well as the RDA's lawyer. The GCEDC chair has signed off on this agreement. It does request that Borough Council also approve and sign off on it. So this evening, it's in front of you for authorization to execute.
And just for clarification for the residents,
Yeah.
this revolving loan fund is not funded through taxpayer dollars. This is dollars that were set aside or aligned for development, economic development.
Yes, it was all through DCECD. It is a Pennsylvania program. It actually originated from old HUD and UDAG dollars that were transferred into an enterprise loan. So this has also been approved by the Department of Community and Economic Development in the state. The RDA reached out to the DCEDC to make sure that this process was approved, and they did approve it. They had no issue with the transfer or the assumption. But no, this is not tax dollars. It's not generated on an annual basis through revenue from the borough at all. It is completely separate and will remain separate, a completely separate entity from any specific Borough Conshohocken revenue. And we're lucky as a community to have access to these loan funds, this grant money that's basically sitting there where we can ensure that there's economic development continuing to happen within our community for both large and small organizations.
And then from kind of a future perspective, it's a loan program, so people are expected to pay their loan back, and then that money is reinvested, I'm sure, to try and grow it so that we're able to continue this. Is that how that works, Alan?
So
Kathleen?
I'll jump in. So that's part of this and part of this push to move the money because that reinvestment wasn't happening, meaning the funds were coming back and they were just being put into an account and that's it. So there's a little bit discussion about the logistics of how to safely house the money, for lack of a better term, so it earns some interest while it's sitting and waiting to be loaned out. The other aspect of this, and a major point of doing this, of moving it, is time. What we were finding out on the board, on the commission, was that we would interview and approve, and applicants would do a presentation. We would love the idea, we would vote for it and okay it. It would move on to the redevelopment authority, and then we didn't know when they were going to do it. And for a new business, a business that wants to expand, especially a business that's signing leases and contracts, they weren't sure when they were going to see the money, even though it had been approved. So, and that'll kind of take that will take that extra step out of this. So we control the time frame and how the money is. So.
Thank you. Any other questions from council?
Okay, hearing no other questions, I will be looking for a motion to authorize the execution of the assignment and assumption agreement between the Redevelopment Authority and the Greater Conshohocken Economic Development Corporation.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is our new business. We will be conducting an interview for the vacancy on the EAC. So at this time, could I welcome Evan Campbell up to the podium? Hi, Evan, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Welcome this evening. Tell us a little bit about why you would like to be on the EAC. Let's start there.
Sure. Yes. Great to see you, Adrian. In particular. I would like to be a part of the EAC because I'm a new resident, so I just moved here a little over a year ago. But in every stage of my life, whether it was high school, undergraduate, locally at St. Joe's University or in Philadelphia, I got a great deal of pleasure in trying to help the community. So during my time in Philadelphia, I joined in a volunteering role for a nonprofit organization called Sharing Access, which its sole focus is on eliminating food insecurity in the region. So redistributing food that otherwise would have been thrown out to those who need it. So that was one example, and so I kind of carried that principle on into the borough here and have attended the last 3 meetings in a volunteer capacity and showed up to the spring cleanup where we were able to pick up 74 pounds of trash that otherwise would have just been left on the ground. But I think ultimately it's this greater mission of trying to make a positive impact on the community. And the best way to do that is kind of spreading the education of some of the sustainability initiatives that we're focused on here.
Anyone have any additional questions?
Are there any particular initiatives or priorities you think there are in terms of the environmental issues in Conshohocken?
Yeah, I think twofold. The first is on the recycling front, just having the small example of being able to pick up 74 pounds in the spring cleanup. I think it should be held on a more frequent level. So right now it's just twice a year. I think it should be probably quarterly, and that's something I'm really excited in trying to make an impact on the group. And then the second piece is kind of the green business recognition program. So trying to get folks that are locally here running small businesses, whether it's Deli on 4th or Nudies, just trying to enact more sustainable practices within the business itself. I think that's an area I can try to help with.
Evan, nice to meet you in person. I know we're social media buds.
Yes.
So if you fill the seat, how do you see the EAC changing, evolving over the next few years?
Yeah, I think one piece is also probably something I should have mentioned initially was I just recently created the Conshohocken Running Club, which is focused on meeting every Saturday for all ages, all paces, and trying to run and have a more healthy alternative as a physical outlet. And so I want to try to do that as well and enact kind of something locally into trying to get people that otherwise wouldn't want to work out or want to run in a meeting on Saturdays at 9 a.m. And so we've been able to do that over the last 6 weeks or so and get a group of about 25 people on average each Saturday. And I think that's not something that's kind of tied to directly what the EAC is focused on, which is more sustainability initiatives and kind of business practices. But I think also it can happen on a micro level of just physical activity. So it's something I kind of want to broadly raise to the EAC if approved, to be able to get some folks outside of their house and doing something that's a really healthy activity.
Yeah, Evan, you live down on the river, and I guess River Walk or Luna,
Yes.
or whatever they call it now. Do you have any specific ideas of, I mean, that area is beautiful. I walk that path often. Do you have any ideas for making it a little bit better, or do you think it's okay the way it is?
That's a great question. I think.
I don't want to put you on the spot because I
No,
know it's tough,
that's
you know?
that's a great question. I think I hate to have to use like a repeated answer, but I think if we were to make the cleanups more frequent, then the run that I do on my trail past Conshohocken Brewing, we'd be able to make it a cleaner environment. And that's the only thing that I can notice. I think on the actual Riverwalk property itself, it's pretty clean, and Lumina as well, just walking by it every day. But I think on the trail itself, that's a really great way to be able to, pick up trash. Because I think we don't really spend a lot of time there. I think we spend a lot of time kind of near Fayette, right? We don't really go that deep within the borough. So just making the cleanups a little bit more frequent as opposed to twice a year, now making it quarterly, we'd be able to see it a little bit cleaner on the trail when folks are walking there on the weekends.
Is that something we'd have to work with Montgomery County?
Yeah, we've tried to host on the trail, and the county has turned us down because they think it's a safety hazard. That's why we actually moved it to the neighborhood. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I wasn't speaking.
It doesn't mean we can't ask again.
Yeah, I wasn't talking about the bicycle trail. I was talking about the trail along the river that goes behind Lumina and it goes up by the.
I haven't been on it frequent enough to kind of have an opinion that I think is valued. So, just not something I can give a concrete answer to.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Do you
meet
have have you ever done any commissions or public service stuff before?
I personally haven't. I was actively involved in the church growing up, because my dad was a CCD teacher, and then was a part of the Net Impact Group, which is focused on sustainable initiatives at St. Joe's University. Also was a part of the lacrosse team there for 4 years as an athlete, so we had a lot of service work where we worked with the local elementary school Gompers. So we would volunteer once a week and kind of just hang out with them and play sports, but nothing in a municipal or borough governmental involvement.
Yeah, it's great to see new faces, so
Awesome.
that's why I asked. That's a good thing. So thanks for stepping up.
So I heard you say that you have attended 3 of the meetings so
Yes.
far. Do you feel that A, you have a good understanding of the time requirements, and B, that you can meet those time requirements?
Yes, so right now where it stands is the meetings once a month at 7 at night, which I've been able to make the last 3. And then whenever there's a volunteer activity, whether it's Green Fest or Spring Cleanup, haven't had a conflict with that. So the meeting tomorrow, for example, like I would be going as a volunteer, even if not trying to be on the board. But I haven't had any constraint or restriction in being able to get there for the time requirement, and pretty cognitive of the time that's needed to be a valued member in the group.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Evan this evening? Thank you for putting yourself out there, and we will take into consideration, and it doesn't look like we are voting this evening, so we'll let you know.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Nice to meet you as well.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is to consider approving 203 East 12th Avenue escrow release number 2, which is a final release for the demolition in the amount of $9,185.07. Any questions related to the escrow release? Hearing no questions, could I have a motion to approve 203 East 12th Avenue escrow release number 2 in the amount of $9,185.07, subject to the current owner fully funding the construction escrow?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-12, authorizing the submission of the DCED Multimodal Transportation Fund grant application. Mr. Tyler Williams, would you mind coming up and from an engineering perspective, talk to us about this grant?
So the proposed project is similar to what we did last year for the 2023 road program and what we're doing this year for 2024's road program. The goal would be to remove the kind of dangerous subsurface drainage pipes and, replace them with surface swales to convey the water through the intersections. We would also be updating all the curb ramps and any non-compliant ADA sidewalk up to ADA standards. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to what we're doing now. We're just repaving the roads and, updating everything to ADA compliance.
And it will specifically be focused on Harry Street from 8th to 11th?
Yes.
Okay, and then most importantly, it's a grant program?
Yeah, it's a no-match grant for municipalities, so free dollars are always good.
And the grant that we would be requesting is in the amount of approximately $512,000. And what the administration has spoken with Tyler on is that we are looking at different ways to start funding road programs that we can do on an annual basis. And so we are in the midst of completing the 2024 road program. For 2025, our road program will be focused on grant dollars in addition to liquid fuels dollars. So again, not utilizing tax dollars, borough tax dollars, in order to complete a project of this scope. And then more importantly, it would finish kind of the Harry Street corridor that has been a long-standing goal from a infrastructure perspective for the borough. Anything else?
No, it was in the memo, but, if we do get awarded the grant, then you save those liquid fuels dollars to be used at a future year.
The ADA ramps that we're doing at the curbs, are we going to be sure that all of them are done in the borough?
So the curb ramps in particular, we're using the CDBG dollars for. So you have the next round of CDBG. Tina just signed off on the contract that we received, and we are using that grant money for the curb ramps, and we are tackling as much as we can, as quickly as can, across the borough. So we're doing them in pockets.
Any other questions for Tyler? For Stephanie? Great, thank you.
And then in order for Tyler and his team to actually submit the grant for the grant application, we do need council authorization by resolution. So that is in front of you this evening for consideration.
Okay, hearing no other questions, do I have a motion to approve a resolution 2024-12 that will authorize the submission of the DCED Multimodal Transportation Fund Grant application in the amount of $511,901,004.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consider approving professional services agreement with RVE for inspection services for the Housing Rehabilitation Program.
Our director of L&I, who handles the actual in-house inspection processes for the CDBG and home programs, is out on medical leave. And therefore, we do have our building inspector who can handle the initial inspection process, but we need an inspector. It can't be the same individual that's doing both of the inspections. So we need an inspector that is handling basically the closeout. We did reach out to DCED, their compliance officer, to make sure that we were following all the proper steps, because these are federal dollars that we are utilizing to run these programs. They're not borough dollars. We did reach out to 3 different entities that to inquire whether they would be willing to provide the housing rehab specialist property inspections and review services that we are in need of. RVE did respond to that. Remington and Vernick did respond to that request, and we did review the technical specifications with DCED, the cost estimates, and all the other items that go into that final inspection process. They did sign off on it. The DCED did sign off on it. It's been reviewed by RVE's legal team. It's been reviewed by Mr. Peters. And this is an immediate need because we have an individual who is out, and this program is very important, and we don't want it to have to stop because we can't provide the beginning and the end separately. So we are asking council to consider this contract, the costs that are associated with the actual services, which are not to exceed number of $1,500, with reimbursable expenses not to exceed $500, are all covered under the grant.
That was going to be my question. Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing nothing. Could I have a motion to approve the professional services agreement with RVE for inspection services for the housing rehab program?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next items on the agenda is to consider approving zoning escrow releases for 128 East 9th Avenue, 203 East 12th Avenue, lots 1, 2, and 3, 113 West 8th Avenue, and 150 West 8th Avenue. We'll do one at a time, or can I do them all in total?
Do them all in total.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve 128 East 9th Avenue in the amount of $3.79 plus interest, 203 East 12th Avenue, lots 1, 2, and 3, each for $289.15 plus interest, 113 West 8th Avenue in the amount of $996.11 plus interest, and then 150 West 8th Avenue in the amount of $259.55 plus interest.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item this evening is to consider approving payment certificate number 1 for the 2024 Liquid Fuels Road Program. So this would be in the amount of $339,458.62. Stephanie, do you have anything to add for that?
No, just the project is moving along well. Tyler was out. The payment certification is also certifying that the amount of work and the dollars associated with that work that are being recommended to be released have been certified as complete by your engineer. So it is ready for payment. You have the payrolls that are associated with this portion of the project on file, and it'll get filed appropriately with PennDOT as applicable.
Any questions from council or the mayor? Hearing no questions, could I have a motion to approve the payment certificate number 1 for the 2024 Liquid Fuels Program in the amount of $339,458.62?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving a tuition reimbursement for Detective Bond for the 2024 fall semester in the amount of $1,714 plus the cost of books. This is part of the collective bargaining agreement.
That is correct.
Any questions from council?
No.
Hearing no questions, could I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is to consider approving Resolution 2024-13, authorizing the sale of a 2014 Ford Escape and a 2026 Chevy Traverse.
So as a municipality, we are permitted to sell assets on Municipid, which is a sanctioned site. So that is the method by which we would sell both of the vehicles. Vehicles that are in front of you are our capital asset policy as it pertains to vehicles. The useful life is set at a 5-year period. The 2014 Ford Escape has been depreciated to 0 years left, so it is past due in order for it to move off our fleet and bring in a new one. And the 2016 Traverse is at 0.17 years left on its valuable life. So both vehicles, in terms of its depreciation value, have been exhausted, and it's time to turn over the fleet. And our capital asset list will be updated to reflect the sale once they go through.
Any questions from council related to the 2014 and the 2016 vehicles looking to sell on Municipal?
Directly related, but not directly related. Do we have vehicles ready to come in to replace those?
Yes.
Okay.
And they meet the specifications in your resolution for your 2035 energy goals because they are electric vehicles.
Perfect, thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing no other questions, could I have a motion to approve Resolution 2024-13, authorizing the sale of the 2014 Ford Escape, the 2016 Chevy Traverse on Municipal per the borough's capital asset depreciation schedule?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Next item, consider approving a fee waiver request for the Hispanic Heritage Association for the use of Marywood Park. Any questions related to their use of Marywood Park by this group?
For what?
It's a salsa event that
Is
the
that the salsa
HHA
one?
wants to
Okay.
host. It's a little bit of a demonstration from local salsa area and also some instruction for anybody who wanted to join. So,
They do have a teacher,
yeah.
and it's a 6-week course.
This is
Well, that's something
something
different.
different?
Yeah, that's something separate. This is just this is a little introductory event for anybody in the borough who wants to come out and see what the HHA is about and get a little feel for salsa and
Which is fun.
things like that. So.
Is there a presentation tonight? Don't we typically have a presentation
I
when
think
someone...
Mr. Frey said he would show us how he would salsa.
Let me be specific.
If you guys really want that, I wouldn't suggest it. I think it would be bad for everyone here, plus the HHA, plus salsa in general. So I'd say that's probably not a good idea. But I have talked about I have talked with the HHA representatives, and from a event perspective, they're just looking to show a little about what salsa is and just get a little visibility for their organization and try and engage more people in the community.
And it is a lot of fun.
Well, I guess, let me go back. I was under the assumption, I guess, maybe incorrectly, that typically when we're considering a waiver application, right, we're not voting on the event existing, right? We're voting on whether they get a waiver from paying the fees for the parks, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
What is in front of you is a request to waive the fees for use of Marywood Park on July 24th and use of the pavilion.
I thought in the past they would come and do a presentation so we could understand. Historically, haven't we done that? And I'm just wondering why, if we have, or is that a requirement?
I don't think it's a requirement.
So we have done, depending on what type of organization it is, if it's for-profit or nonprofit, if it's a community group, if it's a youth group. So we have either required that entity write a letter to request that fee waiver and use of the facility that they're requesting the fee waiver and submit that as part of their packaging that goes to Borough Council, or attend the council meeting and present the concept.
Okay, so I didn't see a letter either. Am I missing a letter? I know there was an email exchange and answering a couple questions, but I never saw a letter.
It's kind of a letter.
So we did go back and forth with Ms. Rocco in terms of the requirements, and she did respond to the email on Monday with the fee waiver request. She indicated that the date was July 24th, and that they are looking to create programs and events to gain financial sustainability for the future, and a waiver for the event will help them out.
Okay, I'm just concerned about setting a precedent for waiving fees. That's all, without what we've asked for, so.
So from an administrative perspective, that's what we request. We request a formal letter of request for waiver of the fees, and we ask for the park permit application, the insurance that's associated with the park permit application, and then if there's any vendors indemnity waivers. So she did.
Just to add a little context to who the HHA is, it is a super local organization ran by people who live within the community. So it's not anything external that's coming in asking for that. It's a resident who's longtime resident, runs the HHA, is trying to get some visibility for the organization. It's a nonprofit, so a fee waiver request, again, it's a minimal amount, but for them, not having, the financial backing that, other organizations have, they're trying to gain that, and this would help them out a bit. I think, again, it's a super, super local organization with someone who is a resident of this area who's involved in the community.
I was on their board, so they are working hard to get going. So
I think what Alan's
I'm
pointing
not-
out is guardrails. We probably need to develop some guardrails around.
I'm concerned about setting a precedent. Everything, so I think the event is great. And we're not considering whether the event should happen or not, right? That's on the administration side. I'm concerned about an organization asking for a waiver without going through the steps and setting a precedent. And I've seen in the past, in the admittedly short time that I've been on Borough Council, other organizations have sent a letter and/or have shown up and done a presentation to have that kind of, So that's where I'm concerned about that, so.
Go ahead.
Follow up, Steph, was a letter sent after our upload happened on Friday? Is that where the?
Well, I don't have a letter, so I never received a letter of, a formal letter to council requesting a waiver of the fee. I have the application and I have the response that she provided in an email.
don't we usually request a letter?
We always do. We have a process and a procedure administratively. That process and procedure was communicated to the applicant. I can only upload to Borough Council what I have in my possession.
So based on that, we've heard from Councilman Frey and Councilman Barton that they know the organization. Do we feel comfortable giving a waiver under the recommendation that we need an official letter sent in at this point? Or do we not give the waive at this point? And unfortunately, we won't have another council meeting before the event.
Right.
So what is council's?
Go ahead. Can I circle back to Steph? Administratively, have all your Ts and Is been dotted and crossed?
So I have the permit application. I have the insurance, which she did provide. I don't have the indemnity waiver yet for the... Hold on 1 second. The generator will kick in. There you
We
go.
have to wait for recording stuff to start again.
Yeah, we'll just check with Paul.
Well, their lights just went back on.
Just go check. Can you just check, see?
Air conditioner?
It just turned off. Yeah.
It'll kick back on.
Hey, our
There it is.
women's group went to Franzone's for dinner.
We are still
No air.
recording? Okay.
Their air's been out for 2 weeks.
We're still recording, so we're good. We'll just keep going.
Oh, jeez.
We have what we need in order for, do we have the full package? No.
So this council needs to make a determination. Are we going to go along with this based on what we have and perhaps ask for the letter to complete the package and re-explain the process to the HHA
Just turn that on.
as we move forward, because they want to continue to work with us?
Right. I mean, I don't know what Jackie was thinking when she did this, but sometimes people look at an application and they don't see an application and a letter as being both necessary, maybe a little redundant. I'm giving her a little latitude here.
Well, I'm just going to make it very clear that Councilmember Fry indicated there was the requirements to Ms. Rocco numerous times. So it's not as
Yeah,
though.
we talked about
Okay,
it.
so she knew she had it.
I guess for context for guardrails and everything like that you're referencing, Alan. If this was approved, does it make it just free reign for anyone to do anything, or would we still have the latitude to decline an application just like we have right now?
We do still have the latitude to decline. It would just be a matter of like, we're no longer following any sort of rules.
Fair.
Where my thoughts on this are, one, I've been to these events put on by the HHA, and I do find them very community-oriented and educational and fun. However, this is an essential part that we've always required. I know in the past we have approved certain measures as long as pending a completed packet or whatever, completed whatever else. So in this situation, I would be willing to like move ahead with some sort of approval, but with that pending, we need an official letter because every other entity that's requested this has followed those rules.
That's fair. Is there a problem making it a pending request to actually submit a letter in order to?
All the time.
No, I think that if you're going to approve it, it should be conditioned upon certain things being completed in a certain amount of time frame. I think that's a fair assumption. I think it also we should take the opportunity to say that if this particular entity, comes back to us in another date, a later date, and wants further requests or further waivers, that they have to follow the process, and if they can't follow the process within the time frames that are specified, then they'll be, like any other entity, would be moved to, the next date once they've met those requirements.
That's fair.
Is everybody comfortable doing it from that perspective?
I am. I mean, she has a week to get the letter.
Plus she has other things she needs to get turned in as well. It's
Right.
not just about the letter.
Okay.
Remember, I was going to Samba over there and get it, right?
So we still have work to do with this organization as we move forward. We do need to ensure that our guardrails are solid so that we are giving everyone equal opportunity and equal chance with equal criteria. So do I have a motion to approve the fee waiver request from the HHA for the use of Marywood Park on July 24th, subject to the final review and approval of Borough Administration, which would include having all of the pieces required for this prior to June or July 24th.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion
Nay.
carries. You're opposed?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, for the record, we have one opposition. Thank you.
Moving too fast for me.
Sorry. The lights are going to go out again.
Oh, jeez.
All right, that was our last official agenda item. Having no other agenda items, do we have any public comment for this evening? Okay, hearing no public comment, I will turn over to ask our fine mayor if you have any announcements or anything you want to share with us on all those activities you do.
We have a month's worth here, so a little more packed than usual. First off, I do want to make sure our residents know that after the storm last night, we called in everyone to help out. So that's Public Works, police, fire, and they did a lot of work for us overnight to make sure that all the PICO crews could come in. So thank you to them. And then, of course, they were right there. They had all gone home this afternoon and had to come back again for this second storm in the afternoon. So
And they're still here.
They're still here. Okay.
They just walked in the building again.
Okay. So a huge thank you to our crews for all they do for us, but especially these last 24 hours. And then to more fun stuff, Conshohocken Running Club has celebrated their 10th anniversary. I met Sarah there 9 years ago under the beer sign at the brewing company. So I've been with them for a while, and it was great to. They had a big party. It was great to catch up with people, and they played all the old videos and pictures from running all around the borough the past few years. So congratulations to them. I can't believe it's been 10 years of that, but pretty amazing. We also had the Conshohocken night at the Reading Phillies, which was awesome. It's just such a great venue. It was just awesome to see all of our residents with like a different background in a different town. But the Reading Phils have been wonderful hosts, and every year when we sit down to plan the next year, they tell me that this is one of their best attended nights of the season. So so that was amazing, and it was Thomas's first baseball game, so I was excited about that. And then, of course, we have just the busiest third and fourth here in the borough with the fireworks and the soapbox derby. So so thank you to our team again for making these two events happen. It's just a really fun couple days in Conshohocken. I was talking to Councilmember Elam just about how the vibe of the fireworks and just walking around the neighborhood and seeing everyone. And I even got I was totally incognito, and I got stopped by one of our drones. So pretty amazing what they can see. So thank you to everyone that made that happen. And that's it for me.
Thank you. Councilman Fry.
I'm good. No, Mayor Aronson said everything, so I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful. Kingsley?
Can I read a letter from a constituent?
Sure.
This is from Colleen Purcell Henry. Thank you to all Conshohocken staff who kept us safe. Tonight's storm brought down part of my huge tree along Caldwell. By the grace of God, we are all safe. Huge shout out to Conshohocken PD, FD, Public Works, Storm Emergency, and anyone else I missed. Above all, everyone was genuine, polite, and just awesome. Thank you to all who responded and resolving the numerous emergencies tonight and always, keeping our boroughs safe and clean. And I thought that was really sweet of her to write that. And also, I would like to ask council's permission to speak with Collegeville's Economic Development as they are looking to upgrade their Main Street, and they would like some information about how we basically got ours up and running and looking great.
Anyone opposed to Councilwoman Barton going to tout Conshohocken to Collegeville?
Give them bad advice, we don't want competition.
Their Main Street's not real big. It runs right past Ursinus, and it's like they want to bring in some, I guess, development that will appease the college children. You know, make them feel good. You know, so.
Nothing.
After that, nothing.
All right, and I have nothing this evening. So with that, I will call meeting adjourned, and thank you, everyone, for attending this evening.